Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we are ready to guide you through the wild and wonderful world of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a baby kinkster, a seasoned pro, or just here for the entertainment, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us as we share our own wild, sometimes awkward, but always entertaining experiences and spill the tea from our combined 30 plus years in the private and professional kink worlds.
So grab your favorite flogger or wand.
Thank you.
And buckle up. You'll learn, you'll laugh, and who knows, you might just spit out your coffee.
Let's get this kinky party started.
Want more Pink Kink in your life? Join our Patreon and get ready for a whole lot of kinky fun and exclusive perks.
As a patron, you'll unlock access to our private Discord server where you can connect with fellow kinksters and chat directly with us. You'll also score adorable pink kink stickers and enjoy a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast packed with juicy tidbits we don't share anywhere else. Plus, get sweet discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and on our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
But wait, there's more.
More?
Our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get extras, such as bonus content and free digital downloads. Oh, and let's not forget, the Pink Standard of patrons will be recognized as producers on both the podcast and on our website, because we couldn't do this without you.
Pink Kink runs on the love and support of our amazing patrons, so join the party today. Visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click on the link on pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Brianna Lynn, Daddy J, William P., Claire, Lady Blooding, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Manda Panda, Kat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Christopher, Brian, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, AK Harley Chick, Serenity, Belle, Eric, Pumpkin Pie, S'more, Hacksaw, Devoted Knight, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Crash Override,
Kinky Bear, Sviper No Swiping, Barbie, Navigator Bard, Frost, Mr. Pillsbury, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Baby Squirrel, Lady in Lex, Chaos Monster, Jessa Lady, Jack, Ophelia, Sweet Caroline, Lady to Kitten, Cydia Lemon, Ben, Noir, Freddie Queen, Princess Ree, Miss Issive, Elysium Rose, Avalia, Nora Morapora, Brix, Mistress Lycia, Wonder Chris, Chessie, and Manders.
We actually were at the dungeon this past weekend.
Yay!
It seemed like the longest time since I've been at the dungeon, but actually that's now 2 weekends in a row for me. So maybe I'm getting my mojo back.
Yay! Finally doing that again. Weren't you like 3 weekends out of the 4 usually?
Yeah, I was, and then I went out to 2 weekends, and then I really missed a whole lot because I can't participate because of the injury. But I've been focusing on sharps. And so last weekend, I demo-topped sharps only, got to break a couple of cherries, and created a couple of sharps monsters, which is exciting.
Oh, God.
And in fact, I ran into one of them this past Saturday at Risque, and he was so excited about it. He was going to do another sharp scene, and this time with my tops. So that was great because both my tops were there. And in fact, then Naughty and Nice, I guess, was outside with this guy, and he was talking about how, he couldn't wait for his friend to try sharps, and he just did sharps for the first time with Princess Rara and stuff, and it was great. And Naughty and Nice is just sitting there going, yeah, I know her. I know who she is.
That's always super funny when people are just like, yeah, I know them.
Well, to me, the most adorable thing is how excited they get to be able to say, I know them. I know that's my friend.
Well, no, my favorite is when people are like, yeah, I was on the podcast. I was a guest. Did you hear me?
Yeah. Or they mention me. You know how when they talk about this person, that's me. That's me.
Oh, my God. Cindy does that.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, they like that.
But I love that. And I was super excited because I got to bottom first sutures again, which is something I haven't done in forever. But I may have, I had, these are actually, it's really funny because on Sinful and Naughty, our friend Jenny
came to me. She says, I really want to do a sadistic needle scene. I'm like, awesome. So I start doing it. She's like, ow, ow, what are you doing? And I looked at her and I said, bitch, you asked a sadist to do a sadistic scene. What did you think was going to happen?
What was the response?
She's like, okay, yeah, I know, but.
There is no but.
But then the funny thing is, so this past weekend, I didn't ask Learning Curve for a sadistic scene. All I said was, I'd like to do sutures. I don't need a design. I don't need anything pretty. I just need to feel something. Mm-hmm. And, well, that was my mistake on my part.
You did not complete the negotiation, did you?
Well, I gave Learning Curve free rein, which was probably a mistake on my part. So,
where's the bell? Hang on. Do we even have? I used to have a bell. Hang on. Shame, ding. Shame, ding.
So what they were doing is they were putting the sutures through, and then pulling it so it'd be tighter, and like trying to lift my very large, heavy boob from the suture string. Whatever it's called. I think it's just called sutures. And I just looked at them and I said, are you trying to put them back to where they once were? Because I don't think this is going to go. And eventually we're going to have to cut the suture off. So this can't be permanent. But I just had to laugh. It's like after teasing Jenny about you've asked the sadist for sadistic. I didn't even ask, but I should have known because I know Learning Curve is a sadist. And after doing not sadistic needle scenes throughout the night, because it's hard to do a sadistic needle scene to somebody who's new to you, right? Even if they're not newbies, if they're new to you. I don't do a sadistic needle scene on somebody unless I know they have needle experience. So I should have realized Learning Curve was just going to be. But then it was really cute because I also had a foot session with Learning Curve's husband. And it was very sweet and it was very joyful. And he's listening to the podcast now. And I warned him, I said, well, I don't ask that. That's your thing. That's not my thing. It's your thing. And I said, well, we talk about Learning Curve a lot, but I promise it's all good because I adore Learning Curve. So as mean as they get to me sometimes, I do love them. So I was very happy. I got to do all of that. But I know you had a big special scene also this weekend, didn't you?
It was, yeah, but it was like an accidental special scene. I don't think this person realizes like how much it meant to me. Well, they will after they hear this, but.
Surprise!
Yeah. Well, I mean, I asked her, I was talking to her this afternoon and I asked her for permission and I said, hey, is there anything I should not include? And she's like, nope, free reign, go for it, tell all. And I was like, great, awesome. So, but that was it. That was the extent of the conversation. So so back to doing my thing, got my electro on, lots of newbies and lots of return people. It was great. I had one very, very sadistic one. We took her to new heights and it was great fun. She's very cool and she's a little, so I'm like, yeah. So this other couple was kind of hanging around during my scene with the, I don't know, masochist little, I guess we can call her. And I did tinsel on the masochist little. And tinsel is one of those great fun things where you can include a lot of people in the scene. So, anybody kind of hanging around, anybody who's like looking vaguely interested, we sort of like pull them in and we're like, hey, do you want to participate in this? And they wrap the tinsel around a wrist, a leg, something like that. And then I zap the person on the table and it goes through the tinsel into everybody who's holding a piece of tinsel. And there was this one couple, absolutely adorable, and they participated and they really liked it and they were super into it. And then during my break, they came over and they were talking to me and she was like, okay, so weird thing happened when I was, her name is Addie. I got permission to say her name. So hi, Addie, this is our meet cute. So anyway, Addie was talking to me and her husband, and Addie said, it was a weird thing that happened while I had the tinsel wrapped around my wrist. I have lupus. I'm in constant pain. just all the time from this disease. And my first thought was, it's never lupus. Dr. House joke. You get it, Rara? You see that show?
I haven't. I have seen it.
You know how he's always upset that it's never lupus? Well, she has lupus. So anyway, it's one of those ones that's like you're just in constant pain, and a lot of it is just pain management. And she said, cool thing, when I had the tinsel wrapped around my wrist and you were zapping me, the pain went away. I said, well, yeah, because the electricity is actually used for pain management sometimes. You ever use a TENS unit? And she goes, well, maybe once. And I was like, yeah, you really need to get one. It's fantastic. But
I
also
highly recommend it.
Anybody that has joint pain issues, you definitely need to just get a TENS unit and have it with you at all times. I have one in my purse all the time.
I'm
Robert
wearing
has
one
on
now.
her, physically,
Yes.
like every day, all the time. So she goes, Addie was like, yeah, I wanted to, get on your table, but there's no more room, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, yeah, a lot of times you have to get here early. As we're talking, someone comes up and erases their name off of my list. I guess they were going home, and they actually were really awesome about coming over and erasing their name off the list so somebody else could take the spot. I love it when people do that. It's so considerate. And I turned, I looked, and I saw that there was a name missing. And I was like, I just picked up the thing and I handed it to Addie and I said, put your name right there. We're going to do a scene. So she did. And this scene was pretty significant for me, not just her, but also for me. So from my perspective, technically, I guess you could call it a medical scene, right? It was a pain scene, but it was not for the express purpose of causing pain. It was for the express purpose of pain relief. So the style of this was very, very different than any scene I have ever done, especially at the club. It was, I focused mostly on her joints. I did not focus on, the sensual, which is my specialty. I did not focus on the sadistic, which is not my specialty, but I do enjoy it. This was to give her pain relief. And apparently it worked really, really well. Like, she was just mind blown by this. And I want to get more of how she felt about it, but I didn't feel that it would be really appropriate to share all of the details. But as someone who is in constant joint pain myself, I know the relief that is when you finally get something that works, that isn't just constantly taking drugs, right? It was really cool. Like, we discussed how she I did her ankles, I did the tops of her feet, her knees, elbows, and a lot of people have like the very top of their spine, right where it connects to the back of the skull. That's a pretty significant part. So I concentrated on that. And she just said that was the best she had felt in a really long time. And that meant so much to me. I was like almost crying. I was like, oh my God, really? It made me so happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that can be done, but then you also have to be really careful, because obviously there's certain circumstances where it would not be appropriate to be doing electro.
Well, yeah.
And right. And that's kind of like where this episode originally started from. We did a previous episode on it, but I just wanted to kind of continue the thought process. So just in case you have the audacity to listen out of order and upset my dear friend here.
Yeah, I'm very upset. If you are listening to this without listening to the previous episode that we talked about this, I don't even know what episode it was.
That's okay. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that one. The Spider-Man episode.
The Spider-Man episode. There we go. We're just going to call it the Spider-Man episode.
Yes.
Well,
look,
for those...
the fact that I remembered is pretty significant, okay?
I'm impressed. So what inspired this was a post on FetLife where somebody joked that they had used the wand on somebody who had a pacemaker, and the chemistry was really great, but the person almost died, but you kept your cool, so it's okay. And it was
just remember, guys, always keep your cool when almost killing someone.
Well, you should, because you need to be able to cover the evidence and get yourself out of there.
Not where we're going with that, Rara. But always remember.
Sorry. Okay. Let me do that again.
Remember.
Okay.
Call your best friend who has a truck and knows where the local pig farm is. There you go.
There you go. So, but seriously, you need to keep your cool, because you need to deal with an emergency situation. But hopefully you will not put yourself in this situation knowingly. It's one thing if you don't know, but this was a knowing situation.
Yeah,
and it was really
have to be able to tell the ambulance guys how long the person has been unconscious and not breathing for.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had then posted something on FetLife about this, which got a lot of attention. And the vast majority of people agreed that what happened wasn't okay. But what was interesting is there were a couple of people whose attitude was, who are we to tell the top what they should and should not do? Because the bottom consented, so it's fine. And that kind of made me really think about, is the bottom consenting enough? Can you do wild and crazy and perhaps dangerous things just because you can say, well, the bottom said I could. They gave me their permission, so why shouldn't I?
Here's the thing with that. That will not legally hold up in court. If that person had actually died and the person, the top doing the electrode to a person with a pacemaker, had knowingly done electrode to a person with a pacemaker, knowing the risks, knowing the massive, major, horrifying risks of doing that, that's fucking, like, at minimum manslaughter. But the knowing part, probably murder.
There's so much beyond just the legal standpoint that we're going to talk about in this episode, because what we do in kink doesn't happen in isolation. What you do with your partner often has reached beyond just you and your partner, especially if you are doing things in public places or posting about it on FetLife, or when things do go wrong and then it becomes the story on the news that night. And so other people hear about it. So we're going to kind of cover all this, and I'm sure we will have some rantiness happening.
Because we have opinions.
We have opinions, so definitely. So let's talk about... Is that
another one we're going to get into? The fact that we actually have opinions?
Yeah, we have opinions, and our perception is based upon our life experiences. Now, my life experiences, obviously, as a woman, and I have a lot of years of life experience, being that I'm old.
Way more than
me. These are our opinions. So let's talk about what real consent looks like when it comes to kink, right? Let's use, for example, the Fry's model, because that seems to be the most common one. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is it's freely given. And by freely given, we mean there's no coercion. As we talked about in a couple of episodes ago, celebrities who try to say what they're doing is kink when really it's abuse. It's because those are people in a position of power. And therefore, through their power, they're able to coerce the consent, therefore making it not actually consent.
They have power, but a lack of responsibility.
Yep. Then the R is for revocable, which means you can take your consent back any given time. You can take it back by using a safe word. That is basically what yellow and red are. That is another way of saying, whoa, stop, I'm taking my consent away. Now, you could give it again once you figure out whatever the issue is, but that's what's basically happening. You have the I is informed. Now, let's be honest. Informed is really, really important, because a lot of times I think people agree to stuff because it looks like fun, but do they honestly know the risks that are involved? Like the people that I do needles on, do they truly deep down know the potential risks that happen? So I think most of the time they don't. And what I do when I get into serious deep scenes where there's blood, lots of blood and other stuff, there's a lot more discussion going into it. Plus, I only do those scenes with people that I know well and know that they are actually informed. Then we have E, which is enthusiastic, which you guys know if you listen long enough how I feel about the word enthusiastic. I like the concept. The concept should be, for me, is basically this is something you truly, honestly want to do. It is not going to always look like enthusiastic. When learning curve started to put the suture needle through me, I can assure you, the faces I was making, my body language did not scream enthusiasm to a single person. but that was sincere consent in my case. And then finally you have ES, which is specific. And by specific, we mean if you were doing an electro scene with Dar and you have consented with her to do electro, she cannot then turn around and start pouring wax on you. Because that's not what you consented to. You consented to that. The same way when I do needles, you have consented to needles. And I tell people, I will tell you how many needles I'm going to do. So that's what you're consenting to. When you're a first timer, I will tell you, I'm going to do 4 needles. It will not be any more than 4. It might be less, but it will never be more than 4. And I've had people after the 4 are in who've said to me, oh, this isn't so bad. Let's do more. And I say, no. We pre-negotiated before the scene that it was going to be 4. You are not in a proper state now to negotiate for more.
No, because at that point your endorphins are going haywire.
Yeah. So that's what real consent would look like. Then when you think about it, why they said yes isn't actually part of that, right? Like, have you sat down and actually figured out, did they understand the full risks? Did they have all the relevant information? Are they feeling pressure, spoken or unspoken, to agree? And I don't mean pressure from us as the tops, maybe the pressure from somebody else. Because Dar and I do demos. That means we get people on our table who may very well be in committed dynamics with other people. Was there pressure from their partner to do this?
I actually have a story about that.
Oh, do share, please.
Yeah, I just remembered there was at Exotica this year a couple, and the girl, I want to say she either did not speak English at all or very, very little. So she got on my table and the boyfriend was translating. But what I ended up doing was holding up an implement, and she would touch it with the electro on and then give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. She touched it with her hand first. And the boyfriend or whatever was standing by her going, yeah, do more, get her good. And I said, no. I was like, I'm going by what she wants, not what you want. And if you keep pushing, you will be removed. I didn't trust his translating at that point. So I was making her sit there and test every single thing with her hand or on her arm before using it on the rest of her body.
Yeah, I know. I only negotiate with the person who's actually bottoming. If their partner, with the bottom's permission, wants to be a part of it, that's fine. But I need to hear directly from my bottom that they can understand and they consent. Right. Hearing it from their partner doesn't work for me.
Well, that's why I was actually getting the thumbs up or thumbs down from her directly and ignoring him at that point.
Good for you.
I was pissed at him. I was like, dude, you can both leave. I'm not going to continue to do this if you keep bugging me.
Ooh, they mess with what is it? They mess with the bull and they got the horns.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. Oh, I forgot one little part of my story earlier with Addie. Her husband, boyfriend, partner, whatever. I can't remember at this point. I'm not going to say his name, but partner dude was talking about how he didn't want to go put his knee brace on because he was afraid it wouldn't look sexy. And I looked at him and I was like, excuse me? knee braces are the goddamn sexiest things in the world. And I point at mine
Yeah.
that I was currently wearing.
You know
And
what
he's
doesn't
like,
look sexy? A limping person with a face full of pain. That's not sexy.
He's like, yeah, you're right. That's really sexy. Let me go get it. I was like, damn straight. Telling me a knee brace isn't sexy.
Gosh.
Excuse me.
Fool. Fool. So now that we've discussed what consent really is, here's a very important thing. And as Dar kind of hinted at it earlier, consent is not a shield against accountability. Saying, well, they consented is not going to get you out of not just legal trouble, but trouble with your community, trouble with your family, trouble with others in the lifestyle, right? It's not enough to just say, well, they consented.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to explain to the community as a whole that, they consented, so I did it, and now they're dead? I mean, can you imagine the repercussions of that? Like, they did not consent to die, bitch.
Not as far as we know, because I will tell you that's usually not something that comes up in my negotiations when I'm asking for consent.
Yeah, no, assisted suicide is probably a hard limit. Thank you.
I believe it's illegal where we live. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, but also, no. No, especially, holy shit, especially death by electro. I would never touch the goddamn thing again, and I have several $1,000s worth of equipment in this case. Why do we do this? Why do we make fun of the we're sitting here making jokes about assisted suicide. That's probably going to get us in trouble somewhere, right?
Oh, when are we not in trouble? It's part of having opinions.
True.
And I can't speak for other people, but it is very much joking about very serious, stressful topics as a means of dealing with it is very common for my people.
Do I count in that? Or like, what the fuck am I? I'm not Gen X.
It's how we get through what we get through.
I'm Jewish. So, like, what's my excuse? I grew up on sarcasm?
Well, yeah, I'm a New Yorker, so sarcasm is my second language.
Well, I have none of those excuses, so.
So one of the things that goes into deciding whether or not you're going to consent is your risk profile. And we do have an entire episode talking about creating your risk profile. Please do not ask me what number it is. I can't help you with that. But everybody has different thresholds for risk in their play. Dar and I talk about it all the time. Our thresholds for what we consider risky is very different. You won't catch Dara anywhere near somebody putting things into her body that make her bleed. Not happening. Not going to do it.
Not unless you're a medical professional, and even then it's questionable.
And as much as she might look at my risk profile and go, oh my God, she's crazy. What is she doing? There are things that I won't do either that I've seen people do. There are, I laugh, right? Anytime I come up with a crazy idea, I go to Naughty and Nice and I say, hey, I got this idea. Can I try it on you? And she's always like, sure, cool. Well, guess what? I finally found the line in the sand that she will not cross. I found the thing she will not do. Yep. I almost feel like I need to warn you.
Oh, is this me taking off my headphones again?
Well, you might need to. You might want to.
All right.
But then you'll never know the answer.
I'm gonna hear it. No, I'm going to hear it when I edit this anyway. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid.
She will not let me put any needles in her scalp. Okay. Deep breath. It's all good. Deep breath. Because it's not happening. So it's all good.
No, but the idea of it.
I've actually watched it done. It's fascinating.
Okay. I genuinely feel nauseous right now.
I'm sorry. All right. I'll continue on. Some people love that level of playing and some don't. And you've got tops who lean into that edge play and others who won't. And it's all a very valid, very personal choice.
when you negotiate it and you manage it. But when does that personal risk profile now turn into a community risk? When does the fact that you're okay with it make it so that the quote-unquote community is not? Well, I'll give you my opinion on this, and I'm sure Dara has her own opinions. Well, when the scene is putting somebody's life or safety at an extreme risk.
I mean, agree.
So like, right? So like when you take such an incredible risk as to use electro with somebody who's got a pacemaker. Like now you've gone maybe a little too far.
That crossed the line so deep into, I can't even express how dangerous that is. There's no, if you don't know already, like that is significantly bad. But like when you asked the question in the chat about where's the line? And I said, well, personally, I thought the scene that I witnessed where somebody was giving someone else a blowjob, and then the person getting the blowjob was using a violet wand and sticking it inside the blower's ear. I won't touch ears, by the way, just because that's too close to like all these very, very important bits. I won't touch it with electro, but they were putting a piece of violet wand in their ear while getting a blowjob. That to me, that's a risk and a half, and I would not do that. And I was just like, holy fucking shit. And a lot of people in the server were like, holy fucking shit. But then the DM was like, nope, can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
That's their
like,
risk profile.
So I do blood play. That means bloodborne pathogens, which become airborne. So if I'm doing that with, let's say, somebody who has Hep C or some other bloodborne pathogen, that's now risky because it could aerosol, it could go around. So that now becomes a risk to the people around me. When people talk about these scenes online without any kind of disclaimers or context talking about it, like you'll hear me guys talk all the time about this stuff, and I label it risky. Now, there will be people who will definitely look at what I do and think, oh, that's not that risky. I've done worse. And I'm not going to tell you you're right or wrong. I just know as a responsibility, as somebody who tells stories that other people listen to, who has heard people say things like, I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to push myself and do the things you do. It gives me, as we talk about, with great power comes great responsibility. And as somebody who's got this platform, that means I have to be very much aware of that responsibility. And so I am not going to put stuff out there without disclaimers, without telling you, this is risky. This is what you need to be aware of. For example, somebody who's on blood thinners. Should I be doing blood play games on some needles on somebody who has blood thinners? Well, I've seen it done. I would be willing to do it because I sat down with a medical professional who does it, who in their day job is a medical professional. And I knew she was going to be doing this type of scene with somebody. So I actually sat with her for breakfast and we talked about it. And I said, if I were to do something like this, what should I be aware of? How should I handle it? What should I do? And she went over with me all the precautions that I would need to take to still be able to do it. Now, with these precautions doesn't mean something terrible can't happen, right? It just means I am hopefully prepared in case something terrible happens. But that's what I did, is I made sure she sat with me, and there were disclaimers about what she was going to do and what I needed to be aware of. And by no means did she make a joke about it and act like it wasn't a big deal when it really was. And all of this is important because if somebody is new, they might look at what you're doing and think, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to do that too. Or they might look at what's happening and think that's the norm. That's what I should be doing. Because it's not like I put up a sign next to my station that says, yeah, so I've been through bloodborne pathogen classes. I am certified in first aid and CPR. I have sat with a medical professional who has walked me through the precautions I need to take, right? None of that is on a sign next to me. The only thing on a sign next to me is demo station.
Mm-hmm. Mine says don't touch.
Right? So, well, listen, that happened to me. I was doing a needle scene and somebody who was in the medical play area who happened to also be in a wheelchair was not spatially aware and backed their wheelchair and hit me in the leg, literally as I was putting a needle into Cindy.
Oh, that wasn't last night, right? Because
it was
Saturday night.
2 weeks ago, but that person was back again. It's the same person.
I saw him. Okay,
yes. Yeah. Okay. So, right, like, so that's something that could happen. How do you plan for that?
Well, I actually had somebody.
Like I sat there and think to myself, all right, I better prepare in case somebody in a wheelchair backs their leg into me.
Well, I had somebody walk into the space where somebody was using to flog in order to like get undressed to get onto my table. Problem is the flogging area that they were using was in a space that they should not have been using. The bench was put by that door that they use to go in and out at Risque that's right next to my station. Normally there's nothing there. And this time
it's supposed to be because they're not supposed to block that door.
Right. But this time somebody put the bench there and people were like, oh, cool. I guess we can use this. And so that was being used for flogging. And then somebody getting on my table walked right into the flogging area so that they could get undressed and climb on my table. And I'm like, oh my God. Luckily, I knew the person who was doing the flogging and he's very, very spatially aware and was just like, I'm going to pause. And I looked at him. I was like, I am so sorry.
Yeah. Well, the dangers of making what we do seem casual and normal is that it can encourage copycat behavior from people who don't have the skills or knowledge. The amount of people I have watched, let's say, do a flogging scene. And look, we're not supposed to judge, but let's fucking face it, we're all human. So we all do. I just keep it to myself because that's where I would be wrong. I have watched some very interesting floggings. And the movements and it's just awkward. And I've seen people flogging, especially on spanking benches, where maybe they shouldn't be flogging in those areas because we're pretty much right on top of the ribs. The only reason
that
I
was
usually
exactly
yeah,
that was exactly what was being used.
The only reason I don't get a DM involved at that point is because they're not hitting hard enough and with a heavy enough flogger to really do damage. And again, how do I know this? Because I had bruises on my body from a scene that were incredibly close to my kidney area. And I had a nurse, a friend of mine who's an RN, who I had check it out. And we talked about the amount of pressure that would be required to actually do damage. And what I see from these people, because the people who could do the kind of damage because they hit that, they are skilled enough to hit that hard, are not hitting in the kidney area most of the time that I could see.
Right.
But all of this normalization of risky stuff really raises the chances of accidents and injuries or even potentially death, which now has an incredible ripple effect on the entire community. First of all, it makes it harder for educators like Dara and I to promote safe practices, because when I will tell you something's not safe and then somebody says, oh, but I just saw somebody doing it at the dungeon. Okay, well, we see people drink and drive. It's still not safe, right, folks? Just because, as our mothers all said to us, if you see somebody jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, you're going to jump too? I mean, maybe the non-New York. Maybe you non-New Yorkers didn't say Brooklyn.
The Brooklyn Bridge too, exactly.
No. Okay, she grew up in New York, because I thought that might be just in New York that we specifically say Brooklyn Bridge.
I was being sarcastic, but no. My mom's favorite saying is just if your friends are going to jump off a bridge, but if she's from Chicago, so she says walk east until your hat floats, which is go jump off a pier.
Okay, so I need to know, for all you California folks, did your mom say if somebody jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge, would you do it? I'm just trying to figure out if like regional bridges get mentioned or if this is just a New York thing, or maybe it's just a my mom thing. That's also possible.
Might have just been your mom, because I know the mom saying in general is a bridge. It doesn't have to be a specific bridge.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was just a my mom thing. But so we're trying to teach people what is safe and what isn't. And then we get pushback because, well, they saw somebody else do it. It gives fuel to anybody who already believes kink is abuse. Because, oh my God, look at what they're doing. Look at this crazy stuff where somebody could die. And then as I talked about, right, it goes, the media outlets. There is a case. This happened in, and I think I also mentioned it the last episode. There was this case in London where they were sued for abuse, and they tried to say, but our bottom consented. And the judge was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And they were found guilty. Now, I know the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom is working on trying to get laws, at least here in America, where if people are honestly consenting, that real consent where it's informed, it's not coerced. When it's real consent, they're trying to get it so that is safe for you, but we're not there yet. Not to mention that all of this can lead to stricter rules at dungeons. Why do you think a lot of dungeons don't allow some of these riskier things?
Oh, yeah, there's a shit ton of dungeons that don't allow breath play.
I don't know too many public dungeons that allow breath play. Listen, people are shocked that our dungeon allows alcohol because of the risks involved in drinking and kinking.
Ours also allows fire play. In fact, demos fire play. And there's a lot of dungeons that won't do that either.
I don't allow fire play in my personal dungeon because of the risks involved.
Right. But there's a difference between your basement dungeon and how small it is compared to the open warehouse of risque.
Right. But I'm just saying is that's why a lot of places do this. And you're going to end up pretty much with dungeons that are going to allow you to flog and nothing else, if we're not careful about this. And this kind of leads into this whole public perception of kink, right? We in the lifestyle are ambassadors of kink, whether we like it or not. When we post publicly, this reflects on our communities. Now, granted, what I saw posted was posted on FetLife, which is supposed to be a kink-aware site, right? People on there are supposed to be kinky. And yet, under roles, one of the roles you can't pick is vanilla, which I find fascinating. But people aren't posting just on FetLife. Like I saw, this one shocked the shit out of me. I saw a post on TikTok where she had needles going in through her eyebrow on both eyes, and she had piercings on her neck. And this was posted on TikTok. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, I got in trouble for having too much cleavage. That was a problem. But needles through her eyelids was somehow okay. And so what we are posting gets forth to the community, many of whom already think that we are abusers or reckless and crazy. Some examples of really harmful public behavior is like that post on TikTok that has no business being posted. And I say this as somebody who loves sharps and was utterly fascinated with this picture because that is amazing willingness to do that. Even learning curve, we had this whole conversation about any needles in the face and head. And it's outside learning curve's risk profile because of how risky it is. And learning curve does some really risky shit. And that one's a little too much for them. But they're bragging about doing something so dangerous without anybody being able to see in the background of the negotiation, the research, the safety precautions that were put in place. Posting bruises and injuries with captions like, oops.
Oh, no, come on.
Again, making it like it's not a big deal. I mean, it's one thing when I've been in the dungeon with somebody and I'm like, oops. because we knew that was risky. Like, oh, who's that? I was just talking about the fact that when my last time I did a single tail scene, I bought him for single tail scene. It had to be called because my skin broke.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we stopped was not because I had an issue. I don't care. That to me is a known risk of single tail. Getting your skin breaking and getting a cut and bleeding is an absolute known risk of single tail. So when I consent, I agree and understand this has happened. The reason we stopped it, 2 reasons. Number 1, because we were not in an area where it was safe to have blood going, especially when you think about it, right? Blood gets on the edge of the single tail. The top whips the single tail back to hit again. You've now got this whip that has blood on it going through the air and the aerosol of the blood drops. We have now contaminated an entire area. And then 2, the blood on his whip. That means I become blood bound to that whip, where he's got to go through an extensive cleaning process to get all the blood off versus the quick little bit of blood from just this one hit. And so all of that, we were like, we're stopping, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to say to me, oops, when that happened, and he could have, but he didn't, I would have laughed because you're right. Oops. In that case, it wasn't oops. I know it can happen. And if anything, I should owe him an apology. My skin is the one that broke.
You broke
He
his
didn't
whip.
do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't that he was hitting too hard. It wasn't that he was hitting me in the wrong place. My skin just gave out. Sorry. And then, of course, you've got other examples of harmful public behaviors, laughing off safety concerns in comment sections on this stuff and thinking it's funny or bragging about it, right? Like we've talked in the past about how there was a TikTok trend at one point about my kinks and they get more edgier
Mm-hmm.
or harsh or whatever. And it like they were bragging about the fact that look what I do. When the people who are watching this, and again, on a platform like TikTok, unless you specifically mark something as adult only, in which case that only works if the person who made the account is honest about their age. If they mark themselves as being 18 plus, then their account's going to be flagged as an adult account and it's going to be okay. And so you have to be so careful about this. And again, all of this matters because you've got your new kinksters who may assume that this is normal or even expected. You've got your outsiders who are viewing this, who already have questions and concerns. Is BDSM, that it's inherently abusive? And now you're kind of just proving the point. And now you've got hosts and dungeon owners and educators who are facing more scrutiny about what they're teaching and talking to people about. And then here's the problem. You may say, oh, well, I was doing this in the privacy of my own home, so I get to do whatever the fuck I want. Yes, but the minute you posted it publicly, this is no longer just about you, and this is about the community as a whole. Now, Dar and I love humor, right? We joke during these sessions, these episodes, and I love humor, and I incorporate humor as much as I can. I just ordered for my old McDonald Had a Farm scene. I found a little mini evil stick with a cat on it, so now I can add a cat to my farm animals. And I'm slowly working.
So when you get hit with it, are you going to meow?
Well, I won't, but I am going to do an entire Old McDonald Had a Farm scene where they do have to sing the song and whatever animal implement I'm using. And I will have cows. I have cows, ducks, chickens, pigs, and now a cat. So that's 5. I have 5 animals. I need more. Just saying, if anybody runs across... Do they have snakes on the farm, though?
Sure, why not? It could be a snake farm.
Wouldn't it be a farm snake? Because I have all the other animals.
Need snakes.
If I have a snake farm, then I don't have other animals. That's true. I would... Ooh, that's a tough choice. Snake, rat. I don't like either. Can't they just get a cat to kill the rats?
I'd rather have the snake than the rat.
Can't I just get a cat to kill the rats?
Sure. Yes, but okay, well, whatever you get, you have to kill the rats anyway, because those are the ones that carry the fleas that have the bubonic plague, and that's apparently going around now again.
Of course it is. So we're all about jokes and humor and all of that. And humor really can set the tone of what we value versus what we dismiss. But humor, as in the case of this particular post that was made, is really harmful. The fact that they are minimizing dangerous behavior. The fact that they think it's funny to talk about, well, they almost died. As if hardy har har, somebody almost died. That's really funny.
I almost killed someone. Would you joke about, oh my God, I almost killed somebody because I got really drunk and got behind a car? It's the same goddamn thing. Get shit-faced wasted, get behind the wheel of a car, start driving, sideswipe someone, they flip, and they almost die. And then you start going, haha, it was a super funny joke. No.
When you start turning life-threatening choices into punchlines, I personally fail to see any humor in that. And then when you try to speak up about safety, as I said, I made a post about the situation, and the vast majority, 90% of the posts were like, oh my God, that's terrible, that's awful, you're right. 10% of the posts were pretty much like, who the fuck am I to say anything? They get to do what they want because the bottom consented to it, or it's not our place to police what people are doing. And that's the problem. Like, those of us who are speaking up about safety, we're being mocked and being called out. When my issue was, do whatever the fuck you want within reason. The minute you made it public and made it a joke, now I get to say something because you made it public. Certain, common jokes that you'll hear is, oops, hope I didn't kill my bottom. Or, right, like electro play with heart conditions, YOLO. Oh, God, my daughter would kill me for saying that. She'd tell me I'm too old to say YOLO.
Well, I agree, but, I'm too old to say YOLO.
All right, when you start joking about this stuff, it's really sending a message that somehow caring about safety is just uncool or not as important. And it teaches people that recklessness is edgy and fun. And that's not a message we ever want to put out. Now, let's be real. Nobody is perfect. We will all mess up at some point or another, hopefully unintentionally. But we will. And the object is you want to learn from your mistakes, grow. Growth is more important than being perfection. The Kinkster I am today is not who I was 5 years ago. I'm a much better Kinkster now. Yeah, I'm a much better Kinkster now because of my growth, a lot of which happened. Like, I laugh. Like, the first time poor Cindy decided to bleed a little too much and not clot so fast. Well, now, guess what? Now I have a whole bunch of Band-Aids in my kit. I redid a lot of my kit because of scenes that went wrong and making sure I had everything that I needed. There's a huge mistake, though, a huge difference between mistakes and repeated recklessness. And to me, repeated recklessness, ignorance is part of that. It's one thing that you didn't know. But did you not know because you made a conscious effort to not learn? Was there a class that you decided you didn't need to take? Did you decide to pick up needles because you bottomed for them once and now you feel you know enough? I bottomed for needles for 6 or 7 years before I ever topped. And guess what I did before I topped? Still took a fucking class. I mean, I seriously bottomed for 6 or 7 years, took a class, and then I could top. I didn't just say, oh, my years of bottoming was sufficient experience. Now, what did my years of bottoming give me? The bloodborne pathogens, the safety. I did know most of that. But the skill of actually putting the needle in properly, learned about that in the class. Recklessness is when you know something's risky and you do it anyway and then you glamorize it. And that's just not okay. When you do make mistakes, and you will, take accountability. What does accountability look like? Well, first of all, owning up to what went wrong. Not trying to blame it on somebody else.
right? My scenes with Cindy, when Cindy we couldn't get the one spot to stop bleeding. Am I supposed to blame it all on Cindy? That was her fault. Totally her fault. If she just stopped bleeding, I wouldn't have needed those Band-Aids.
God damn it, Cindy. Why you gotta be bleeding like
right?
that?
Do you see how silly that sounds? So own up to what went wrong. I have always said, I don't care you've made a mistake. I care how you handle it when you have. That tells how you handle the mistake you made tells me more about you as a person and as a kinkster than the fact that you made the mistake. So own up to it, explain what went wrong, and adjust your behavior moving forward. Again, we have an entire scene about your scene went wrong. Now what do you do? And I don't think this episode probably comes out after. I actually am teaching that class. Your scene went wrong. Now what? I'm teaching it at Naughty Knowledge, but I don't know if this episode will come out before or actually it might come out that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But why does all of this matter to the community? Well, because it shows that we care about each other. It helps build trust between partners and in group spaces. And it helps model healthy, ethical kink. So here's kind of an important question. What is your responsibility as a top to your community? And when I say to your community, there's different levels of community, right? There's the level of the people who actually live near you and go to the same dungeon you go to. There's the level of kink community as kinksters as a whole. What kind of kink community, first of all, do you want to have? Well, I know personally I want one where people feel safe to ask questions and set boundaries. It's one of the reasons I choose to educate. I want people to take responsibility for learning, and I want them to feel comfortable coming and asking questions. I never want people to feel pressured to perform for clout. It's why when somebody uses a safe word, I praise them for it. You don't have to take more because you think it's important to take more. If that's all you can take, that's all you can take. If you only get one needle in your body and you stop at one needle, I am not going to judge you for that. I'm not going to think you're a wuss. I'm going to think you're very proud for even having that one needle in you.
Aww. Thank you.
Right? We all have a responsibility in shaping kink culture. It's not just up to people like Dar and I as educators. It's up to anybody who is in the kink community. Doms, subs, tops, bottoms, switches, lifestylers, casual players, bedroom only, online posters. If you call yourself a kinkster, you have a role to play in this and being responsible. And so I tell you, how can you be a better ethical community member? Well, think before you post. Who's going to see this and possibly misunderstand? Is what you're posting appropriate to post on TikTok? Or maybe you should only be posting it on FetLife where the standards are different. Speak up with compassion when you see unsafe behavior. When I see somebody doing unsafe, I don't assume that these are assholes doing unsafe things. I kind of assume these are people who are uneducated. And I'm going to use the opportunity to teach them. I've talked about the situation before where a friend of mine was bottoming for needles. You might remember the story. And his top walked away and left him on the table, said to him, "I'll be right back," and walked away to go find her husband to show him what she had done. And I stood there and stayed with him. And when she came back, I could have yelled that everybody around me heard, "What the fuck is your problem? How dare you walk away? How irresponsible of you." But I didn't do that. I spoke with compassion, and I very quietly leaned into her and whispered directly into her ear, "You should not leave your bottom alone when they have needles in them." Now, if I see her doing it a second, third, fourth time, yeah, I'm probably not going to be so compassionate next time. But the first time, I'm definitely going to be compassionate, because if you start attacking somebody for doing the wrong thing, they're not going to be open to learning. They're not going to be open to asking questions. They're going to get defensive, right? And they may end up deciding they're not going to play publicly anymore. They're only going to play privately where they're not going to get judged or yelled at. And now nobody's watching them to make sure they're doing the right thing. And you've just made a bad situation worse. So really go give people grace and assume good intentions until you find out otherwise. Share resources. Don't ridicule them. Offer classes. Have them listen to us. Have them listen to other podcasts. Have them listen to all the podcasts. If you have articles, share articles with them, right? Help build them up. And if you see people who are doing a great job in modeling safe and ethical kink, point them out. Or say to them, wow, that was really cool. I like how you did that. Oh, that was really great how you made sure you had all your safety stuff around you. That was fantastic, right? Build them up so that they're going to want to keep doing this. Ultimately, consent isn't a license to just do whatever you want. We have a responsibility. I do kind of want to throw something out here because this came up in another conversation, right? Where we talk about how our responsibility as tops, that it isn't sufficient to just do something because it's consented, right? Like consent isn't a license to do whatever we want. And the subject matter came up, and I asked people this. If you recognize that your bottom is in frenzy, will you still do the scene with them? What are your thoughts on that, Dara?
Say it one more time.
Your bottom is in frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
And they've consented to the scene while they're in frenzy. Is that sufficient consent for you to still do the scene? And there's no right or wrong answer. This is one of those what works best for you and your own risk profiles.
I guess it kind of depends on if I know they're in frenzy or not. So like I'm aware, right, that they're frenzied.
I would assume so, because otherwise, what's the point if you don't know?
See, yeah, I'm okay with it, but I would probably tone the scene down quite a bit from what they asked for. So like if I have somebody that's going absolutely nuts, trying all the things because they're new and gets on my table and it's like, oh my God, I just did this, I did all the things. And it's like that, I'm going to be like, okay, well, why don't we do something to calm you down a little bit? Because electro can be used in that way as well. And I know that you've done a flogging scene on me that was more like a massage.
Right. Yeah, I personally, if I recognize that you have done a lot of the things, more often than not, that I will say, let's reschedule this on another night. Probably because for the most part, when they come to me for an impact scene, they're not coming to me for a sensual massaging impact scene. They want the crap beat out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people who want the kind of sensual flogging scene that you like usually tend not to go into frenzy from a scene standpoint. They might be in a frenzy from a relationship standpoint, but not from a scene standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I usually get the ones who are like, oh my God, so far tonight I've done electro and I've done rope and I've done wax, and right after I finish with you, I'm going to go do fire, and I'm like, okay, I think maybe we need to not do all the things tonight.
Yeah, that's the hardest part to deal with.
Because you're going to have regret. There will be regrets tomorrow. Or I will tell people if the frenzy happens during the scene and they're like, oh, I want to do more. I'm like, you know what? Let's have something to look forward to another time. Let's not do that tonight, where it seems, and this is coming from somebody whose motto seems like a good idea at the time. But that's different. That's how I am as a bottom. That's not how I am as a top. My bottom scene will try anything twice because it seemed like a good idea at the time. But as a top, again, because, right, with power comes responsibility, I don't make those decisions for other people. I have always said I would rather you walk away angry that I didn't do something than walk away angry that I did. You can regret that we didn't get to try something. That's fine. Then you'll come back and we'll try it the next time. I don't want you regretting what we did do. So just a couple, let's just recap kind of what I'd like you to take away from this episode is that consent is wonderful, it's amazing, and it is an absolute requirement for what we do. But it is not the end all to be all.
It is just the beginning of the process. What we do does not exist in a vacuum, and what we do has consequences. And we need to be aware of those consequences, and those consequences need to be taken into consideration when we make the decision to do something, when we give our consent. Part of giving informed consent is being aware of the potential consequences. And consequences can include things like taking very serious subjects jokingly. If you do make a mistake, it happens. Be accountable for it. Learn from it. Grow. I always say I make mistakes, but I'll never make the same mistake twice. I'll just find a new mistake to make because I will have learned and not repeat myself. And ultimately, remember, what we do as kinksters influences perception of the kink lifestyle, not just within the kink lifestyle, but externally. People who hear about kink, whether they hear about it from you or social media or the news, what you are doing will influence that. And let's make it a good influence. And let's make ourselves good community members.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to help us keep creating, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can also support our affiliates to benefit small businesses and us at the same time.
No extra cash? No problem. You can still help by spreading the word about your favorite kinky podcast. Share us with your friends, and don't forget to rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Those 5-star reviews mean the world to us, and those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pink
and level up your kink knowledge.